Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidil Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. How to present Quran and what are the guidelines for a muallim and mudarris of Quran. This is our subject and we spoke in detail in our last episodes. Now in this episode I would like to mention how to give a model dars. And I told earlier that take only one ayah and you should be very clear the message and the subject of the ayah. And number two, pay proper attention and equal attention to every single word of the ayah and every single sentence of the ayah, and then connect word with word and sentence with the sentence and paragraph with the paragraph so that the message is delivered loud and clear. Now, we take one ayah from Quran, Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 29. Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 29. This is one ayah only. I told you earlier that we have to break the ayah. Look at this ayah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل إلا أن تكون تجارة عن تراض منكم ولا تقتلوا أنفسكم إن الله كان بكم رحيما صدق الله العظيم. Now this is one single ayah, ayah number 29 from Surah An-Nisa. So what we have to do here, we have to break this ayah. And we find 5 segments here. Number 1, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. That is segment number 1. La ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil. That is the second sentence. The third one is illa an takuna tijaratan an taradim minkum. And the fourth one is wala taqtulu anfusakum. And the fifth one is inna Allah kana bikum rahima. Now, translate this. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. O you who accepted Islam. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ordering something. لا تأكلوا, don't eat أموال of each other بينكم, among Muslims. Among, O Muslims, do not eat, take the amwal of other Muslims بالباطل, with wrong means. Don't snatch the wealth of others. Don't eat the amwal. La takulu amwalakum bil batil. This is the second sentence. Then an exception is given. Illa an takuna tijaratin. Illa an takuna tijaratan an taradim minkum. Except if it is a business, except if it is a deal on which both parties are in agreement willingly, without any force. Then Allah says, La taqtulu anfusakum. Don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna Allah kana bikum rahima. Indeed, Allah is very rahim, very much merciful upon you, O Muslims. Now, when you look into this ayah, you will wonder. You see 5 segments apparently look as if there is no connectivity in the subjects. Muslims are addressed, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, and we are told that we cannot, have the property of other believers by wrong means. Fine, we got it. And then it is said, of course, there is an exception that if it is a business with mutual agreement and consent, fine. But the question is, why Allah said, La taqtulu anfusakum, don't kill yourself. Don't make suicide. Don't commit suicide. So, La taqtulu anfusakum. La ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum. And La taqtulu anfusakum. So, 2 negative commands are given. Don't grab the property of others with wrong means, and don't commit suicide. So what is the relationship between these 2 commands? Then finally, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inna Allah kana bikum rahima. No doubt that Allah is Rahim with all of you. Bikum rahima. Kana bikum rahima. He's always Rahim with you. Now what you do here, you have to go through different tafasir and find out the connectivity here. So it is mentioned here, to make an agreement valid and lawful, Islam has two requirements. Number 1, it should be on haqq. It should not be on batil. The agreement should be based on truth, and al-haqq, it cannot be on batil. If the nature of the agreement is on batil, for example, you are making an agreement of interest, that is batil. If you are making an agreement, for example, of making dirty films, that agreement is unlawful. If you are mortgaging your house and you are giving your own house to somebody else, and you took, for example, $100,000 from him, and you gave your house to him, and you are not taking the rent, and that agreement is haram. So the agreement says that as long as I don't pay you back 100,000, you can stay in my house without rent. It means the rent is the interest of that $100,000 which you have borrowed from them. So this agreement of mortgage, and you have given the possession of the house with whom you borrowed $100,000, is batil, it is invalid, it is not halal, it is not al-haq. Now the second condition to make the agreement lawful is that it should be a mutual agreement. Both of them should agree to it. You see, if both parties agree on a haram thing, it becomes invalid. And if an agreement is imposed by force upon you, that becomes also invalid and haram in Islam. For example, I own a house and my neighbor comes and he says, sell your house. I can sell him, but I don't want to sell. He forces me to sell the house. I tell him, I don't want to sell. I'm happy in the house. But he says, no, you have to sell. Buy somewhere else. You say, I don't want to sell my house, but he's forcing you. A decision is made by my neighbor and he's imposing upon me, so it is not antaradim minkum. I'm not happy with this agreement. Similarly, I give another example. For example, my brother comes to me and he says that I have a daughter and you have a son and they should marry with each other. And I tell him that I have to ask my son. I cannot give my consent until I ask my son, and you should ask your daughter. And if they both agree, I don't have objection. But if they don't agree, I don't want to impose that agreement. So they are cousin to each other. They have a common grandfather, and but there is no consensus. They are not in agreement. There is no taradim minkum. They are not happy with each other. They don't want to marry with each other. So who are we to force them to get into this knot? So two conditions make the agreement halal and valid and lawful. Number one, it should be based on haqq, not on batil, and it should be based on a mutual consent, and it should not by force. To further clarify, for example, if both parties agree, for example, two real brothers and sisters agree to marry with each other. It is batil. Though they are mutually agreeing, in Islam, it shall still remain haram because it is batil. Two men decide to marry with each other. Two lesbians decide to marry with each other. Two girls decide to marry with each other. This is batil, though they have mutual agreement. So these two conditions have to be met. It should be based on haqq, and there must be a mutual consent also. Now, then comes وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't kill yourself. Don't commit it. Here, the ayah has two meanings. One of the meanings is general. It means Muslims cannot make suicide. Life is a gift given by Allah, and we have to wait until the command of Allah comes. And this life is a test and a trial, and we have to pass this examination. We cannot walk out from the examination hall, and we cannot say that I don't want to write the answers. It means if somebody walks out of the hall without answering the questions, he is considered as he is flunked. So he cannot pass his examination if he walks out and if he doesn't write his paper. So suicide is haram. That is a general meaning. But what is the meaning in the context? the meaning here is economic suicide here. La taqtulu anfusakum means don't kill yourself economically. Those nations and those societies in which people exploit each other. For example, I am bribing A, and A is bribing B, B is bribing C, and C is bribing D, and D is cheating F, and F is cheating me. So it is a circle. The entire society, all the members of the society are deceiving and cheating each others. They are grabbing the property, land, and money of others by illegal means. This is an economic suicide. That's why Allah says, La taqtulu anfusakum. Then comes the final passage of this ayah. Inna Allah kana bikum rahima. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always Rahim. Now, the word kana is very important here, and the word Rahim is also very important here. And while you are giving the dars, you must explain this kana and Rahim. Kana sometimes means past. He was, for example, kana rajulun. There was a man, kana rajul. And kana sometimes comes for present. He is. And kana comes sometimes for eternity, for dawam, for permanency, for all the time. So here it is used in this meaning here. Inna Allah kana bikum rahima. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always Rahim with the believers. Kana bikum rahima. Now the word Rahim is on the scale of fa'il, ismu sifa. So fa'il means something to do permanently, constantly, with istimrar, with dawam. Rahim means he is always Rahim. It means his rahmah, his mercy is not spontaneous, but it is eternal, it is permanent. He is always Rahim. So, how to connect this last passage with the previous subject of not to have property and wealth of others, that with his mercy, he wants to place the Muslims, the believers, in paradise. He is special. He wants a special mercy with the believers. And that's why he is teaching us the etiquettes of business, that don't have illegal means of income. Don't exploit each other. Your transactions have to be very fair, and they, on the true standards and with mutual consent. And this is a mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wants to see Muslims prosperous. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rahim on Muslims. He wants the Muslim societies to exercise economic justice without any kind of exploitation. There should not be any bribe. There should not be any force. There should not be any corruption. There should not be any financial facade. It should be a peaceful society, just society with adl. So these are the economic teachings of Quran. And the following ayah Ayah number 30 of Surah An-Nisa says, وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ عُدْوَانًا وَظُلْمًا فَسَوْفَ نُصْلِيهِ نَارًا. Whosoever will practice against this, the teachings of Islam, and he grabs the wealth of other Muslims by udwan and zulm, by injustice and transgression, فَسَوْفَ نُصْلِيهِ نَارًا. The Muslims are clearly told here that Allah shall give them the torture of hellfire. فَسَوْفَ نُصْلِيهِ نَارًا. They shall enter into the hellfire if their earnings are not halal, if their earnings are not lawful, if their earnings are based on batil, not based on al-haq, and if they are forced to enter into a contract without the will of the people. So this is the message of the Quran, that man must have fair economic behavior to enter into the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and enter into the paradise. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.